Good evening, folks. This is Rass. We just had a throne war, and I was over at REL taking my part in this, and we had 3 UAO players get zeroed, and our losses amounted to about 3.5 million points, 3.5 billion points, and I say our losses because I was one of the people that got zeroed, and so I'm gonna just talk about what was my fault first and what I'm doing about it, so I'm not a hypocrite on any of this. But where is it? There it is. All right. This is where I got zeroed. Lost 2.4 billion power. Okay, I didn't even take 500 million power from the opponent. So this is a 2.1 billion power win from the opponent. Now, take a look at the opponent's ground buffs: 2,800, 2,500, and 2,600. Now, for a ground attack, you don't have to be much higher than that, clearly. And look down there at my ground debuffs. I've got a 1,045 HP debuff, but with defense and attack that high, and HP buff that high, it could be higher, but most of my debuff is geared toward range, and most of my defensive recommendations for you has been against range and attacks, because that's most of the attacks you're going to see. So I don't have any answer for a ground attack. And you'll look at my mounted troop buffs, they're lower than everything else. Okay. So let's look at what I don't have. I had my T-14 mounts in there, and you'll notice they get more kills than anything else. Like, the range got 243,000 kills with the mounts. They got more than twice that. Even when you're getting wiped out and you're outmatched, mounts gonna beat ground better than anything else. It's the one time you want the mounted troops in there. It's the exact opposite of a range attack. My T-13 mount were out killing monsters, but it wouldn't have been enough to stop this attack. So what am I saying that I'm going to do here? That I'm going to start building more high tier mounted troops and percentage mount buffs? No, not really. That's not really what I'm saying. Because if I do that, I'm going to get wiped out by a range attack every time. You want... A lot of you have something in your defenses, and you've been taking big hits that I don't have. I've got a high tier defensive scheme that at this level, at this point, it's not enough. Okay. Right down there, T1 mounted troop. Look at everything else on the screen. The amount of kills it got. T2 Siege got 1,382 kills. T1 Ground got 110 kills. The T1 Mount got 21,000 kills. I've only got 40 million T1 mounted troops, and I only have one piece with any flat refines at all for mount. Now, the rest of my stuff, you'll see that it's 2 ground troop HP percentage. I just got as many golds as I can so I could get advanced refines with those. Speaking of advanced refines, here's something I'm doing. I've got 3 of my defensive pieces where... Go over here to advanced refines. Carrillo set. There's something that's on my wall. I'm trying to build up the advanced refines. See, in the middle it says advanced refining attributes, all troops HP. Well, if I can get that up to the 20% range, this one is also all troops HP. I get that up to the 20% range, then I can replace those ground HP refines on that piece of gear with flat refines for mount and add a T1 wall to my high tier buffs that I've already got. So this gives me high tier layers and a T1 layer. A lot of you have T1 layers and you see how they work, but you feel like you need more. I've got these high tier layers, but I don't have the T1s, and I feel like I need more. So this one, all troops defense. I get that in the 20% range. I can go to the ground troop defense. I'm going to bankrupt myself on refined stones. I don't care about the event. I need to get stronger. But we pointed at my ground troop debuffs. So now my champion, look at what she does. Debuffs ground and mounted troop attack at level 20. So, let's see. What do I need to do? Debuffs ground troop and mounted troop defense at level 18. She's at 15, so here we go. I'm going to start leveling her up until I get that extra ground debuff. And we'll start going through this every day. I got that $4 pack where I'm adding more, giving more to champions. I've been only doing the ones that buff ground and mount HP and defense and debuff range. I need to debuff my ground now. This in turn is going to strengthen my siege, which doesn't really help against the ground attack necessarily, but they used a lot of siege attacks. I did lose points getting hit by a siege attack. So there's a double-edged sword thing that I'm doing to try to get stronger. And okay, let's get off this screen. I can do this later. And in my sub-generals with my debuffs, him right there, sabotage enemy troop defense, I can get that up to 10. He doesn't have a Parthian set. I can get a Parthian set there. If I get more copies of him, that's all enemy troops defense, attack, and HP. And him, I've got another copy of him. I get him up. That's enemy ground defense and HP up. And he's also got a specialty I haven't unlocked. Him, I could put him up 3. That's enemy ground defense and HP debuffs. Hadn't been doing that. And we'll go over to beasts. This one is not at level 10, almost is. I could open up those seals there. This one, enemy ground troop defense, I could try to, okay. Enemy ground troop defense, I just upped it by a couple points, but I can keep working on him. And, well, I don't have the blood crystals, but we'll just start doing stuff for, where's an in-city mounted troop? In-city mounted troop defense. Start upping the mounts. That's another thing right there. My pasture's at 35. And if you look, go back to that. I don't have a single star on this one, but I could get it up to 3 stars if I had my pasture at level 37. So I need to do that if I'm going to be talking to people about getting zeroed. Right now my archer tower's building. I'm trying to build T15 range There's other things that my Senate's only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 generals. That unlocks at Council Estate 19. So let's go. I need victory column level 5. What can I do there? Own 4 of 6 max specialties generals. Okay, well, let's go look at a specialty I need to bring up. She is not at 5 stars. That's an extra in-city mounted troop buff that I don't have. They'll be stronger against ground if I do that. And that specialty is not maxed out. I do that. That helps against ground attack. And then I guess the next one that's going to go to max specialty is him, which will give us a siege attack. And I need to get that Heian Tachi. I've got 14 fragments toward it. So that's going to take me a minute, but where the hell is it? I scrolled right past it. There it is. I need another 16 fragments to get that, to get a 2,000 buff where we can actually start using siege attacks and earning points. Those are some of the steps that I need to take and correct to fix this problem where I can't take a ground attack. But let's see. Oh, another one. In my advanced defense, everything is done except mounted troops. I don't have the mounted troops HP and defense done for level 39 academy, and I need to get my academy up to level 40. That'll put more buffs in my corner, and we already talked about debuff. Now let's talk about some good shit that happened. Okay. Now, when we made an attack on the throne, we knew because I got zeroed I was going to need defenses because of who was over here. If they hit me with that ground attack, I'd need reinforcements. So they reinforced me. I got 5 people in there. And this attack was a mounted troop attack. As soon as we dropped bubble to rally, they jumped on us. They was real well organized. There's really no shame in losing to this kind of opponent. But the way that we did it, I stood over there. I was killing monsters on the enemy server, and one of them hit me, and I'm like, you ain't going to chip the paint on me, motherfucker. And then I was on fire. Like, what? And so, my fault. Not as good at this as we previously thought, but I won this defense with some reinforcements by a pretty good margin. By about 200 million power. That's good. You want that. And then I got hit with a range attack. Won it by about 300 million power. That's good. 2300 range buff. I would have took it by myself. My range attack debuff down there at the bottom is actually over 1200. So I'm good against range attacks, especially low buff like that. They're not going to do anything. But with the reinforcements, I was able to get back some of those points. And then I joined this rally, and we knocked them out of the throne. That's a loss of 1.4 billion power and some change for us. And it's a gain of 3.2 billion power. So almost a 2 billion power win. And then, take a look at what my mounted troops did. There were hardly no T1s in that throne. They were all very high tier troops that were getting killed. So, killed almost 2 million soldiers. I did kill 2 million soldiers with the rally. So I'm getting points back, joining those rallies over there. And then, And this is the good news for UAO. Take a good minute to look at that. That is a 900 million power loss for server 1222 and a 2.2 billion power loss for the enemy server. Caught him over here fucking with temples and caught him with a march out, hit declare war. He tried to pull his troops. I just sent it. Didn't care who was in there. All I needed was 4 players. We can do this at UAO. And then look, you'll see that I let it. Look at the buff. I didn't even have the right gear on. 2016 range attack buff. That's barely enough to really sink some teeth into these people. I've got over 2100 if I've got the right gear on. It was just done real fast. But 14 million soldiers. My T14 layer. 18.5 million soldiers over that with my T13 layer. 110 million soldiers I killed with my T12 layer. So if one of you gets zeroed recklessly, I can get the points back. And that's what I'm trying to tell everyone. You need those max reward chests. You need the blood of Ares in them. You need the gems in them. You need the treasure boxes in them. You need the placement. You need those gems to get the buffs that you don't have. And I can get a lot of points back, so we could start taking more risks, but just getting zeroed recklessly and doing stupid shit. Leadership in our alliance is not going to put up with that very long, so we got to find a policy, and I got to stick to it too. So there's the good news. I can get some points back, and my attack buff's only going to get bigger and better. And soon I'll have a siege attack where we can start stealing more points with attacks. And if someone loses points on a defense, it's not the end of the world and we're just getting cussed at. And I'm sorry, man. It's okay. I'm going to go get those points back. So I'm going to need some help from the bigs, Naka, Beasley, Word, Voltron, anybody that wants to join range rallies. I need to start putting them together and taking a chunk out of these people and helping y'all getting points that way. Helping you build attack buffs. That's some way we can get the points back that we lose. But on defenses, I just showed you what I'm going to do. I'm just kind of retooling and refitting so that I can take a ground hit. It takes a 4,000 range buff to zero me. And now, once I have that T1 meat wall, that won't be the case. So I still practice what I preach. I'm just not as good at this as we thought I was. But that's what I did. As to what happened with the other two, we can figure out how we're going to handle that. But there's what happened. And look, we weren't the only ones losing points because here's another rally where just barely over 1 billion power loss for us, over 4.2 billion power loss for the enemy server. And I killed 19 million soldiers with those layers and almost 50 million soldiers with that layer. With that T12 layer, I killed over 48 million soldiers, almost 49 million soldiers. Even if they were all T1s, that's still, 60, 70 million points I scored off of that. I could get these points back if you lose them. So it's not the end of the world like it used to be. And then this one here, I don't know if it was a win for the server. It was a win by inches. It looks like they add up to a tie to me, but I mean, still, there's 8.8 million kills. There's 31.5 million kills there total just for me. And I had over a 2 billion point deficit, and at one point I got it back up to I was less than 300 million negative. I almost redeemed all of my points, and then we started doing this stuff. There were some internal problems over there where they were cussing each other out too. We weren't the only ones that lost points, but the total loss of the server war, we at UAO, with us getting zeroed, we did amount to 3.5 billion points. So we're at least going to talk about this, and if you get yelled at for getting zeroed recklessly by anyone in UAO, well, we need to address that. We need to work on it. They got every right to be mad. They want to win. They work hard and getting their shit right. And so, me having been one of the ones getting zeroed, I'm one of the more understanding voices. So if you need any help with your defenses or anything like that, you can come to me and we can find things that you can work on. You'll see it in the future. That same ground attack that took me out is not going to take me out once I get finished with those steps I just put down. And it's only happened because I've been taking all of these steps against range attacks, and I've been fighting them off and doing better in SVS. The one range attack that was like 4,000 buff that took me out, it didn't even take me out in one hit. He had to follow up with a mount hit, but I still lost the attack. But once I get that heavy T1 wall on top of my high tier buffs, I'll start splatting that shit. You'll see. Yeah, I think that's enough about what happened. I've got a treasure trove of battle reports in here that we could go over. And I don't know, here's a siege attack that I barely won it. We could talk about how to win points on siege attack. It's kind of complicated, but that's a completely different video, and I've taken over 20 minutes with this, but that should be enough sufficient about why I got zeroed, what I'm doing about it, and I'll help you in a different way, but future videos will not include whisper conversations or alliance chat conversations. It's nobody's business what you say to me. I want to make that clear. Okay, that's it. I'm on to the next one. Thank y'all for having me back. Good to be home.